Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Today is the 14th of March 2022, and today was my first official streaming day back on Twitch, which was absolutely awesome, and I had a load of fun. And I just wanted to say thank you to you guys who've been following along and who came back to play and chat and what have you. Some of you, your generosity is ridiculous, but thank you, because it was a lot of fun and it was great and it was lovely to see you all again. So the weekend, Tanny decided at 8 o'clock on Friday evening he was going to have the day off, so he rang his boss and he said, I already spoke to the supervisor guy, he said I couldn't, and I reminded him that I am self-employed and I can take off as many days as I want to. And since I haven't had a day off since I actually started, except for a half day, so I could sort out my tax stuff, I think I'm entitled to a day off before I bloody burn out. So, Tanny had the day off on Saturday. Wonderful. And he took me out. He took me out for lunch. It was great. We went for a drive. I didn't get my seaweed. I was a bit sad. But he took me out for lunch and we had fun and that was good, and we got to spend the weekend together. So it was really, really nice, actually. Yeah, it was. It was. And I'm just, had a load of, do you know what? I sometimes feel like I shouldn't be on social media. Because when I see people spouting stuff and then I try and explain to them the reasons for what's happening and why the rules are there, they get their ass in the hand. And I'm like, well, the rules have been there for fucking decades. Not my problem. And if you're not going to look after your animals, then in Australia, they'll shoot them. Period. And so, yeah, someone got their ass in the hand because I said that and said, well, obviously I don't love my animals enough then, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take it that that's what you mean. It's like, oh, okay then, off you fuck. I can't be bothered with this bullshit. Schoolyard bullshit is exactly what it is, and if they'd read what I wrote properly they would have understood that. But so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop just not comment on stuff like that. And if it's a repeat offender that keeps putting shit up that is more emotional than fact-based, then, especially if it's someone who's going to get their ass in the hand for absolutely no reason whatsoever, not my problem. I'm going to have to just leave it and just whatever, So, yeah, I've seen feral cats in Brisbane. I've seen wild packs of dogs in Sydney. Stray dog packs in Sydney. So yeah, I do think they should be shot on sight. I do. They are dangerous. They shouldn't have been brought into the country. None of them. They have decimated the native animals of Australia. Decimated. Cats and dogs have. The rats and the mice that came off the ships and still continually come off the ships are what are causing the plague. Their ancestors are causing the plagues that are decimating farms, decimating the countryside. If you have a look at a 200-year-old map of Australia and the maps they have now, the desert itself is 75% bigger than it ever was before. Why? Because they used stupid farming methods They used European farming methods, not understanding the soil they were using and ripping up trees on a place that only had an inch worth of topsoil. So, of course, it all blew away and what was left was sand. But, you know, just the way it is, isn't it? Just people not understanding and desecrating what they've got. That's what annoys me. Especially when people then get their ass in the hand afterwards and go, but you can't shoot my doggy. Well, yeah, actually they can. If you let your dog out more than 3 times and it gets out and you're not responsible enough to fix that fence or to have it inside or have it in a shed, if that's what you got to do, or you don't have time for your animal, so it runs off, which is what dogs do. They get bored and they go looking for someone to play with. So they start jumping fences or digging underneath and they get really, like I said, they get bored. It is what it is. And I totally agree with them being decimated. I do. I do agree with them being euthanized. And you can cry to your heart's content. But they're doing more damage to the native animals that are there, that are now on the endangered species list due to cats and dogs and mice plagues and stuff. There are 3.5 million feral camels in Australia that are running wild. 3.5 million. They don't belong there. They never were. They were introduced because of the desert and the conditions, and then they were let to run. So yeah, I do think these animals need to be put down. I do. Rabbits don't belong in Australia, yet they've caused all sorts of issues. All sorts of issues. You know? They need to be gone. I do not agree with non-native species being in a country that doesn't have those species, that has a very unique ecoculture that is being decimated by the continuous non-compliance and non-caring and entitlement of people who just decide that they're going to live there. Well, I bought the land. Yeah, but the animals and the flora and fauna was there first. And it annoys the shit out of me, which is partly why I'm not living there at the moment, because otherwise I'll lose my shit. Eventually, though, I'd like to go back. I'd like to take Tanny with me, and I'd like to get a plot of land, and I'd like to bring it back from desertification into a lush, living, green space, which it can be if proper farming methods and proper proper methods are used. I'm cross this morning. It has annoyed me because it's a very childlike, entitled opinion that, oh, they can't shoot my puppy. Well, keep your bloody dog inside. I don't care that your fence was knocked down in a natural disaster. People lost their fucking homes. People lost their lives. You lost a fence and your dog might be shot. So put up a temporary area for your dog. Put it on a rope run if you have to. Put it in the shed overnight if you have to, if you're not allowed it indoors. Be outside when the dog is outside. If you think so much of your dog, spend the time with it, prove it. Honestly. But don't come whinging when you haven't, and you haven't taken the precautions. Not my problem. Not my problem. You let your dog out, you take the consequences that come with that. Pet ownership is not about having a puppy and loving that puppy and that being enough, because it isn't. Pet ownership is about doing all the hard yards too, and putting in place procedures and areas and stuff that you have to do so that your animal and you and everyone else around you is safe and kept safe. Like I said, whatever. I have, like I said, very strong views on this, because I've seen firsthand what Europeans and their need for pets has done to Australia. And it's disgusting. Biggest thing that annoys me is people having huskies in Queensland, because that to me is downright fucking cruel. It's cruel. And it shouldn't be allowed. Any dog that comes from an Arctic area or has long hair and is built for those kinds of temperatures should never be in a country like Australia. Shouldn't be allowed. It's one of the cruelest things you can do to those animals. Oh, but it's so cute. It's a husky. Oh, look, it talks. I know what I'd be saying if I was a husky and I was living in Queensland. Anywho, I'm going to go. I need to calm down. I need to do some other stuff. And I will see you guys later on. I love you guys heaps. Blessings.